Welcome everyone to More with Less, and today I want to talk about whether or not it's really possible to make $1 million and be able to retire in 15 years. Before I start with that though, the first question you have to ask yourself is, why would I want to retire in 15 years? Because sometimes we think that retirement is all that, and I'm here to tell you that as you age, if you're doing the things that you enjoy doing, like for instance, I'm a videographer by trade, I do video production. When I'm not working for clients, either creating social media campaigns or doing recruitment videos, I work and I provide videos for different venues in my area. When I'm not doing that, I'm doing this. I'm firing up my cameras and making videos again. And then when I'm not doing this, I'm making festival films. I'm right in the middle of making a festival film called The Gray. So for me, retirement is not an issue. When you love doing what you do, you never work a day in your life. And so my first challenge is to just make sure that your perspective on why you want to make $1 million is a good perspective. My feeling is that I want to put money towards retirement, but I don't necessarily want to have opulence, and I don't want to necessarily be non-dependent on anybody. You know, I like having a mutual dependence with my wife. I love being connected with my family, and those are not things I'm interested in sacrificing in order to have $1 million. Also, I want to tell you that I have not achieved $1 million in 15 years. My early part of my life was spent working for ministries, and I worked at a Christian school as principal. I've done a lot of different things with my life, had a lot of adventures with my wife and my daughter, but most of those I was being paid very little, and a lot of what I made had to go to the basic necessities of life, like food, housing, all of the basics you have to get through in order to just survive. Only in the past 10 years have I gotten to a place where I have no debts, and I've been able to invest a lot of my income towards retirement, and it is growing very quickly, and if I needed to, I could retire now. So it's really important that you think about, why would you want to make $1 million in 15 years, but now let's talk about how you could. So one thing to think about with making $1 million in 15 years, well, first of all, let's say you started out with an initial investment of $5,000. This is what it would take to get there. You'd have to put $2,500 a month into a account where you're earning a really good interest, which means you'd probably be investing in the stock market. Now, over time, the stock market goes up and down, but over time, it's always gone up. Now, when you start investing, you have to invest money that you don't have to pull out immediately, because there will be down cycles in the stock market. But if you put $2,500 a month over 15 years and you get a return of 10%, then you will end up after that 15 years with a little over $1 million in your account. Now, some people say, how in the world can you get 15%? Well, I have had a real success in my investments because I choose really high quality stocks with big companies that have over time both grown and increased their dividend. So in most of my companies I invest in, I have over 5% on a dividend, which is money that they give back to their shareholders because the company is profitable. And those companies I invest in over time have actually grown in value as well. So the value of the stock has grown, and so consequently, I'm doing more than 10% in my overall investment income for every dollar I have. Now, over years, that is going to compound. So you put $25,000 in this year, not only are you gaining an income on the next year's $25,000 as you put it in, but you're also getting a dividend off of the $25,000 you've already put in. And so it starts to compound. It grows exponentially, and over time, you will be having a great amount of return per year. For instance, if you have $1 million right now, they say that you should only take 4% out a year in order to keep your investment at a level that will continue to pay out without losing money in your overall portfolio. I think it's more like 5 to 6% if you invest wisely. So if you had $1 million, you could be pulling at least $50,000 a year and not making your investment go backwards. So for me, it's not that big of an issue to have $1 million. I don't necessarily need to have it in my account, and I don't yet. However, I will tell you that if you are desiring to set goals, that's what you have to do. Now, the average family right now is making between $68,000 and $70,000 a year. I think it's $67,000 to $70,000 is about the average family income in the United States of America today. Now, I know a lot of you, your families are probably making more in the $80,000 to even more range, but there are families, as an average, that's what the average is. Now, how could you make that happen putting $2,500 a month in every month? That means that after taxes, you'd probably have to live on about $30,000 a year. However, if you were truly committed to reducing costs for all aspects of your life without sacrificing fruitfulness, without sacrificing joy in the journey, without sacrificing your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, it is possible. As a matter of fact, right before I started making this video, I looked up, there's numerous people that have actually given their stories in their journey on YouTube living on $30,000 a year. So it is possible. And like I said, many of you are probably making substantially more than that. What's important to know is if you want to reach that goal, you need to make sure that you're not sacrificing joy in such a way and your experiences in such a way that it makes it a burden or a drudgery. You don't want to live 15 years of hell hoping for 40 years of heaven. You know, it'd be my luck if I tried to do that and I lived that way, I'd get hit by a bus on year number 15. And, you know, I would have spent all that time living a drudgery life. That's not what More with Less is all about. That's not what this channel is all about. This channel is about fruitfulness. This channel is about prosperity, true prosperity. And true prosperity comes in things like having those family experiences. True prosperity comes in having great relationships. True prosperity has to do with a sense of well-being and that you're not always out of control because your debts are bigger than your income. So that's the goal. You want to live a fruitful and prosperous life. You just need to make sure that if you want to save money, you have to set those goals. That means you're going to have to look at your house and say, well, how big a house do I really need? If I'm a family of 4, maybe a 2-bedroom house where the two children are in the same bedroom is okay. You know, or a smaller house or in a location that maybe not is quite as desirable as the elites live in. It also means if you don't have money up front, it might mean living with family for a little while, parents, until you earn enough money to put a good down payment onto a house, realizing that if you do make smaller payments on a house over time, when you sell that house, or if you ever need to, the value of that house is going to be substantially greater than what you invested in it. So that's going to be a wash. Secondly, you've got health insurance. My wife and I are a part of a sharing program. We are Christians and we're a part of Samaritan Ministries. I'm going to do another video about that. But we are part of that organization and we're older, so our costs that we give, we actually send a check to people in need that are part of our organization. And so we currently send out $700 a month. My wife is very close to actually starting to be a part of Medicare, so that's probably going to be cut almost in half. A young family, I just looked it up the other day, a young family can be a part, if they're Christians and they have a home church, they can be a part of Samaritan Ministries for a little bit less than $400 a month. That is dirt cheap insurance. But it's not insurance, it's sharing. It's sharing with other people that are like-minded and on the same journey. Then there's food. You have to be prepared to always look for bargains and always be willing to go the places and find the days and understand where the bargains are coming from and utilize your resources that way, whether it be sale days or markdowns or whether it be loss leaders. becoming a very frugal shopper for your foods. Clothing, I always shop at Goodwill for a lot of my clothing, and then I also shop eBay, and I've mentioned in other video, I wear my dress shirts and everything I buy gently used, and so consequently I don't pay retail for that. You have to be willing to find ways to get the clothing that you like at a discount. And then obviously you need transportation, got to be willing to drive that used car that maybe isn't the one that everybody would like. It might mean not getting a F-150 Raptor and driving a Honda back and forth to work every day and taking your family for their trips in a car like a Honda or Toyota. So these are the sacrifices that you make. Recreation, that means you're going to need to choose things that you do that are fun but cheap or free. And that means community organized events, also doing things like kayaking or canoeing. Once you have that initial investment in a kayak or canoe, or for your family, you can do those on local rivers, and it's cheap or free. So finding the ways to have entertainment along the way in the journey, making memories, but not always spending money on everything recreationally. So these are the kinds of sacrifices that I make just out of my second nature now, but they are the sacrifices you have to make early if you really want to have $1 million after 15 years. It is possible. You can follow people on YouTube, and I'm just here to tell you, you can make it happen, and you don't have to sacrifice living well just because you're having to spend less. So join me in the journey. Let me know how it's going. And thank you for joining me today on this More with Less, making $1 million in 15 years.